liar is telling me I'm bad, that means I'm good. Because
Yeah,
he's a liar.
right. No, you're
But
right.
remember, I was trained like that though, from the great grandparents and stuff like that. I was
Hmm.
trained to hear that and understand that they're projecting stuff they
Things
do
on.
onto me, and
Right.
I wasn't accepting it.
And I remember also when we were at the museum, you brought up during the civil rights era, there were things that our civil rights leaders were trained to do to prepare to protest and fight these riots. So could you share some of those stories with
Yeah,
us?
but we saw things on TV like the marches.
Hmm.
What people didn't see was the behind the scenes organizing and planning. And I was fortunate enough to, our church was the headquarters for the SCLC.
Hmm.
And so whenever my family would go to, organizing meetings and planning sessions, we had to go because there was nobody to keep us because they were all there.
Hmm.
And so we were able to see behind the scenes. Then later on, you see a march going on. People that weren't in the planning room just sees the outcome.
Hmm.
And so, but I remember uh, Martin Luther King had a team of folk that would come down with him from Atlanta, and they would pretty much tell you what their intelligence had found.
Hmm.
We heard that there's going to be 100,000 National Guardsmen that's going to be here tomorrow. So they're telling you ahead of time.
Right.
And a bunch of us are going to get arrested. That's a fact. They're going to shoot tear gas, fake like we were rioting because we're going to be scrambling because we can't see.
Right.
And then they're going to act like, oh, they just all of a sudden turned into a riot. And then they're going to start, beating people and arresting people and things like that. So they're telling you this before you go out. And so then you go out and you march, and then of course they shoot the tear gas and people getting beaten and all that kind of thing. And what they would say is, now we're going to make sure we get arrested. So
Hmm.
if the cops rush at y'all, we're going to jump out front and make them take us. But the second we gone, guess who's next? Y'all going. So when you going out with the understanding, there's a very good chance I'm gonna get arrested, which is the least of the things that could happen to me.
Right.
And they'll tell you we're coming to get you out, because they would have the business people that would donate to the NAACP Defense Fund, and they would
Hmm.
show up at these makeshift jails and bail everybody out. But you could get beaten, you could get killed. So
Hmm.
they tell you all these things before you go out, and then people are saying that's all right. I'm heading out anyway. And then they will tell you if you think you're gonna have to fight and strike back, don't come out.
Right. If you feel
Because
like you're gonna
they're gonna act like
retaliate.
we're the ones that, yeah, like they're gonna act like we were the aggressors. So if you say, well, hey, look, I don't think I can do that, they'll say, okay, we'll use you somewhere else. Answering phones, stuffing envelopes, stuff like that. We'll use you somewhere. We don't
Hmm.
want to tell anybody we can't use you, but we need certain people that can handle this kind of stuff out on that street, you
Right.
know. And so yeah, we did. But and I mean, I was a kid. We knew then. People asked me, did we know we were changing history? And I said, yeah, we knew
Hmm.
as kids. Because matter of fact, after you do stuff, you'll see it on TV.
Yeah.
And you can't find yourself. You're looking in the crowd for yourself.
Yeah.
But I don't see me, but I know I'm in there.
You're right. You know you're a part
And
of that moment.
yeah, and so they're saying, hey, this is happening. And you realize in the crowd, because I was like 7, 8 years old,
Hmm.
and so you're short. Everybody's all towering above you. You're just in the middle. They're trying to keep you safe. The little
Yeah.
people.
Hmm.
And but you felt like that whole crowd was one organism moving,
Right.
and there was almost a shield of protection that you felt around you, and you felt 10 feet tall.
Hmm.
Even though you were a little kid. I took my little brother. We went to that last march. The last victory of the civil rights movement was the '69 hospital worker strike.
Hmm.
And we begged my mom if we could go out there. I think I was 8, and my younger brother was about 4, and she didn't want him to go, but I wanted to go with my older brother who was 10. And so I said, "Well, look, let me go." And she said, "Okay." I said, "And let him go too. I'll take care of him." Now here I am, 8, talking about I'm gonna take care of a 4-year-old in the middle of 10,000 marches and police shooting tear gas.
Yeah.
But she figured, hey, I need to let him go.
Hmm.
'Cause they want to take part in trying to change history. I'm gonna pray for him and everything, but I gotta let him go.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
that was, but that it leads to where you are now, t being able to tell these stories and
Yeah.
keeping us really informed from the what you actually got to see,
Right.
yourself.
And you know, a lot of people don't realize there was a particular event that kind of shifted the movement
Hmm.
where the president had to get involved and start passing these civil rights acts. It
Hmm.
was a children's march in Alabama. This children's march, it's the one where you see the police dogs being sicked on people and the
Hmm.
fire hoses. When people saw the fire hose and the police dogs, they thought those were grown-ups. Those were children.
Hmm.
And when they asked these parents, because like thousands of children just didn't go to school, they
Hmm.
asked those parents if we can get the children to go out. And the parents were trying to tell the children, hey, y'all want to go out there and do this because this is going to be there. And those children said yes.
Hmm.
And they went out there, and the whole country was in shock at this violent, thing being aimed toward these children.
Hmm.
So that civil rights movement, a lot. So we talk to our young people today. These young people got it in them, and it's going to be we're trying to hang out here and help them build this world that they want for themselves. But those guys ain't going to cower and back out off of this either.
Right. And it's just sad because our young people do have to be involved because they are also targeted. Thinking
Right.
about Trayvon Martin and
Yeah.
Tamir Rice and all the young black boys that were killed
Yeah.
by police, by law enforcement, that are killed by people we don't know the names of and we
Yeah.
don't know those names of the victims, but it's still happening and they're still being targeted. And even hearing mothers, black mothers talk about how they have to have that talk with
Oh
their
yeah.
son. And it's not the birds and the bees. It's like you're talking to him about when you go out in this
This is
world,
how you got to operate.
right? And that's a conversation white men do not have with their white sons.
And they don't have to.
They don't have to.
See
That's a
what?
conversation, it's just because I have a little nephew now, and just imagining like when he gets to that age where he's driving and it's
Yeah.
like you're gonna be exposed whether you're a sweet, innocent boy or not.
Remember what
You're-
Kent said? They not like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? See, it's not about because sometimes talking to young people, they'll say, "But that's not right,"
Hmm.
and that's not right, but that's reality.
Right.
So yeah, it is wrong that you have to have that talk. It is wrong that we have to operate a certain way,
Hmm.
but that's the reality. And we want to make sure we come back home alive, yeah, at the end of the day, so we can live to fight another day. Um, See, I'm gonna tell you the biggest enemy we got is this racism. And I don't think we're gonna ever really stamp it all out.
Hmm.
But because some people are gonna be racist. But if we can get it to where the systems, because systemic, if
Hmm.
we can get those kind of balanced off, just an even playing field, uh, we'll probably push everything else over the finish line, and get some of this stuff to die out. But that's our number one battle because that's the thing that keeps coming back.
Yes.
And it's the one that keeps on passing unjust laws and things like that.
And
It's that
even with
mindset.
that, and even with the laws against us, the people attacking us, we were still always able to come back on top. And even with having President Obama, that's something our ancestors couldn't have imagined.
Right.
Even when Martin Luther King was fighting for our rights, that was something he was like, having a black president is something I would love to see, but is this country really ready for that? Are
Yeah.
and I think that we're not ready if we don't know the history of how we were before. Because for a lot
Right.
of people, they
Exactly.
think we just had slavery, we were just held down, all our lives are in the projects. Like that's the central idea of
Yeah.
many Black people about our own history. Like,
Right.
oh, we don't really come from much. But hearing what you talk about in the 1860s and the Reconstruction era, can you paint a picture for us that who were some of the Black leaders and politicians and political pioneers during that time?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's perfect. That Reconstruction era,
Hmm.
the reason they wanted to overturn that is because of the possibility of what was about to happen. Like I say, right here in South Carolina, they had a majority Black state legislature.
Hmm.
And this is 3 years after the Civil War. And for about 10 years, it was a majority Black. Um, if they didn't overturn Reconstruction and let history play itself out the way it was going, we would have had a black president 70, 80 years ago. So they said, okay, we got to find a way to get these votes away from them and overturn this. And so they were able to set us back. They hoped that we would never get one because the problem they have now is they can never say that we can't aspire to be president no more.
Right.
That can't happen. They
Hmm.
can't put the genie back in the bottle. They would have liked for there never to have been an Obama. See, they didn't mind when Bill Clinton, they were calling him the first black president because he could play the sax, had a little bit of swag to him and things like that. So they say, okay, y'all can call him that, but that's not what he is, you know.
Hmm.
And see, but if you think about it now, we're still making these incremental moves because we got that black president that they wish we never got. Now, young people and my children grew up with at the time they were growing up, that was all they saw because he had 8 years.
Hmm.
So they already know the possibilities. They can actually aspire to be president.
Hmm.
After Obama left, we ended up with a black vice president, a black woman vice president. Then we got a black woman Supreme Court justice. So we still getting things. That's a first.
We're still doing
Yeah. And this is in the middle of all this battle, going
it.
on. And so once we right the ship again, and it won't be that long, we'll right the ship again, and then you'll start seeing us continuing to do this stuff over. See, when you're doing your last gasp of stuff,
Hmm.
once that's beaten, there's nothing else for you. And then it's not that's downhill for this racist stuff, and then we can build what we're supposed to build. And
Right.
with us, we wasn't never trying to put them in slavery. We're not trying to do the all what y'all did. That's because it's not even in us.
Right.
That's why it's such an unfair fight because we're not willing to be that evil,
Right.
and they don't mind doing it.
That's the difference. And
Yeah,
even that's what I'm seeing in the massacres, because I definitely looked up some of the massacres you were telling me
yeah,
about the last time, and hearing about the one that happened in New Orleans where the men after the war they
yeah,
marched, no weapons.
right,
It was a very much peaceful protest to the Merchant Institute on Dryad Street, and they were barricaded in. They were
right,
throwing fireballs into the windows, and it was they weren't armed, so they
yeah,
because people always say like, oh, did black people have guns back then? We did, but we weren't. Like that was something we were trying to do peaceful to show them we're not armed and dangerous and trying to retaliate, like you said, do unto them what they did to
yeah.
us. And they took full advantage of that
And
moment.
the times that we are armed for self-preservation and security.
Right.
We're not trying to march into white neighborhoods and do nothing to them. We're trying to keep y'all from coming into our neighborhoods. So
Right.
when the Black Panthers and stuff like that were arming themselves, they weren't arming themselves to go out to some white communities and basically go to war. They were just saying, we don't want y'all coming into our community. We want to protect our communities.
Right.
During the Civil Rights Movement, people don't know too much about this, but they had a group called the Deacons of Justice
Mm-hmm.
that was really the security force for King and those guys. And of course, with the Muslims, they got the Fruit of Islam, but
Hmm.
they're trying to protect their people.
Right.
They're not trying to be aggressive against. Now, what the Klan was doing, they weren't saying we're trying to protect our community. They're leaving their community and going to black communities to do things to them.
Right.
So those black communities, when they did arm, they were arming to protect their community from invaders coming in. They
Right.
weren't trying to go out and commit crimes and all this other kind of stuff.
Right. The gruesome acts that
Yeah.
we've heard of from the massacres that you said
But I
is
mean, if you
just
think about it, and these people were something else. There's stuff they were doing on those slave ships and the stuff that they would do. All right, when they went out and they would get somebody and lynch them,
hmm.
they was skinning people and wearing their skin for like leather products. They were doing all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
More so than just the fact that they murdered somebody.
It was beyond that.
Yeah,
And even thinking about, we were taught George Washington had wooden teeth.
yeah, you got real people's
It
teeth.
was slave teeth, and just
Yeah,
remembering that, like that switch up, because I always thought wood, like how does that work? Like I remember
yeah.
thinking that as a kid, how do you have wooden teeth? Like I
They
remember
saying we don't
then
want to tell y'all what he really did.
what he really did, and
Yeah.
just that small thing, because it's something like, why were we talking about his teeth as little kids anyway?
And think about this for a second now. he pulled some people's healthy teeth
Uh,
because he didn't get like see some cavity teeth that fell out,
yeah, it
and
was
I'm
definitely
gonna use those. I'm pulling somebody's healthy teeth out of their head to get these teeth.
right. And that's
Now they
another
don't
thing.
have no teeth. They might have to have wooden teeth because you took my good teeth.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. But
But
that
I'm
that's
saying
the like
yeah,
how
the
you
stuff
said
that they
like
were doing
wearing
is
our
crazy.
skin,
Yeah, they're
like
doing all kind of crazy stuff.
out in Louisiana. I mean, I know y'all have swamps in South Carolina, but I was always told of like them throwing the babies
The
into
babies into the
the
alligators.
alligator
Yeah,
swamps, and it's just it like I said, like we said, like children do need to be aware because children were victims as
right.
well, and as young as little babies.
Yeah.
And I always tell because I've been going to St. Aug High School, and we've been doing documentary series on Black history and going through the motions. And I always let them know they cannot put what really happened in this movie.
No,
They
they can't.
cannot. It was just too gruesome.
Yeah.
They will never show a white woman. And I've been watching all the documentaries I've been seeing. I've never seen a white woman do anything outside say the N word, but
Uh,
they were just as
oh yeah.
active in being violent.
Some of them are terrible.
Yeah, they were just, but you would never, like, the most you see is them saying the N-word and get off my property, but they were
Yeah.
just as active
Matter of
in
fact,
killing.
a lot of times they would really be vicious to black women because their men were
Bourbon.
desiring these black
Mhm.
women. And
Yeah,
so they would beat them. But what I do is I always remember just trying to tell the truth. I always give credit to some of the ones that was good
yeah,
because you had some white women who were put in almost a second class citizenship to white men.
right.
Basically, y'all don't have any rights. You just my wife, so you just stay here at the house. I'm
Hmm.
going to do all kinds of stuff, but you don't have to worry about anything. I'm gonna make sure you got everything you need. You
Hmm.
don't have any rights to anything. And remember, they set up the system where the child follows the condition of the mother. So
Hmm.
that means no matter if it's a black woman having a child and she's a slave, child's gonna be a slave. If I father the child, I'm a
Hmm.
free white man, but you got to follow the condition of his mother. So I'm enslaving my own children, but I can also increase my assets and my slave labor force by raping black women. If
Hmm.
a white woman was to get with a black man who was a slave and have a child, they'd be mixed, but the child would be free.
Hmm.
So I'm making a law that's saying y'all can't mess with them because the children will be free. There's
Hmm.
a way of me keeping you from them.
Right.
But I can mess with them because they're the ones that wrote the law
Right.
that the child has to follow the condition of the mother.
Hmm.
They were always doing all these crazy things, and a lot of times, like even with Frederick Douglass, the women were sneaking and teaching them how to read and write.
Hmm.
Because see, the men were coming up with these crazy laws. It's against the law to teach a slave to read and write because they're incapable of learning. They're like just a little above an animal. Now they're just making this up. They
Right.
know it's not true, and then they tell their wife, so don't even attempt to teach them nothing because they can't learn. And
Hmm.
then the wife would be over there saying, "Let me see, because they seem pretty smart to me." Then they go try it, they find it. Then the man come back and cuss them out.
Hmm.
The hell are you doing? Well, you told me you couldn't learn. I'm just trying to show you you could, but I was lying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We
And
were
so I
making it
mean,
up as they were
yeah,
making it up as it go.
yeah.
The
So
pain tolerance, and even in our medical history, like the lies and that, it's just, yeah,
you know about that Dr. Marion Sims? You heard of him? He's
like,
considered the father of gynecology.
oh, yes.
Got
Hmm.
statues of that dude in different. They got one at the State House
Hmm.
in Columbia, and they got one in New York. But basically, performing surgeries on these black women without anesthesia to see how much pain and he's killing folks. And then talk about he advanced science,
Right.
and they got statues of this guy, you know.
And even John Hopkins with the
Yeah,
Henrietta Lacks and their family is just now getting
yeah.
justice for that
And think
situation.
about that. This immortal cells coming from the black woman.
Right.
God, we superheroes.
Yeah. But it's like I guess it's like this white privilege, the pride of just like we have to stay at this top, even with all the facts going against them. They're
Because
just
see,
like, nope.
but see, all the facts going against him. But I'm saying I'm not going to tell you any of these facts.
Right.
See, as a matter of fact, I'm going to lie. See, I'm going to give you a set of lies as your facts.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem like the facts are going against them because I'm not telling you any of the facts. It's up to us to make sure that we dig up the facts and tell them.
Right. We have to do
Because
our
they're not.
own.
If you wait on, if you said they want to take Black history out of schools, I always say Wham wasn't in there. But I mean, really, I didn't learn Black history in school. You didn't learn most of your Black history in school.
Right.
We learned it out here, and we got to learn
Mhm.
from other Black people that did some research and found it. But
Right.
if we was depending on the schools to teach our children Black history, who is the person that's picking the things they're gonna put in those books?
Right.
So they're not gonna get it. They're gonna be learning something that somebody chose
To
to
put
tell them is the real history.
right. Which
So
would
we
still be
always have to
altered.
be out here. We need to monitor what's in the books,
Mm-hmm.
but we also need to always be out here teaching. Well, my great grand, see, I say I was fortunate because my great grandmother, daughter of emancipated slaves, college grad, school principal, had advanced degrees and things like that. So she had the oral history and the education.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did go to school, there was no white teacher that could say, well, your grandmother had a third grade education, so she can't tell you any better than I can because I got to college. Because when my grandmother, great grandmother, and grandparents, they had more education than the white teachers did.
Mm-hmm.
And so the white teachers couldn't say, well, she just scrubbed floors and she just does this.
Mm-hmm.
When I went in there and everything my great grandma told me, because she told me what I wouldn't see when I got to school. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got there, if I was listening to in my head what she told me, and then the teacher telling me, and they contradict, I was going with her.
Right.
That means the teacher wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher could tell some other students, your mom don't know what she's talking about because she's not an educator or whatever.
But that
And
was
I am, and I got all these credentials behind me. They couldn't tell me that.
mm-hmm.
See, I already knew if my grandmother didn't have that, I was going to trust her anyway.
Yeah.
But she did have it, you know.
Mm-hmm. So it was
And
something that you could really look at and say, like, and that's even interesting because growing up here, we have a lot of Catholic schools. And
yeah,
so, but I'm not Catholic. And I didn't grow up in a Catholic family. And my grandmother was kind of upset
yeah.
that my mom put me in a Catholic school. But I do remember her telling me, like, that is not your religion. You go in there and you just learn it as if it's just any other class.
But
And
they will give you your basics, your basic education. But
right.
see, the problem was, all right, reading, writing, arithmetic.
Hmm.
All right, one and one is going to add up to be two.
Right.
Two's going to be four.
Hmm.
So arithmetic is going to work or it ain't.
Hmm.
History is the problem.
Right.
History is that thing that
Okay. You got
yeah, somebody's trying to call. I'm on my
oh.
phone. The history is that thing that can be manipulated because we can give you some facts without others. We can
Hmm.
give you some lies masquerading as facts. It
Hmm.
depends on who's the person that's putting the stuff in the book. And so when like if you get a group of historians that's going into the archives that's going to choose the stories that's going to go in the books.
Hmm.
And then they see something that's positive for Black history. They can just say, "Oh no, we're not putting that in there because we don't want them to know that."
Hmm.
And then they might see something else that's kind of positive for white supremacy and say,
Hmm.
"Okay, we'll put that in the book." So they picking and choosing what they want to put in there, and then
Right.
they can slant the stories. So if you go in there and you get your science and your math and things like that from school, from education, it's pretty much going to be everybody's going to be learning the same thing. And it's going to be straight because it's going to work out one way. You do a formula, it's going to balance out like it's supposed to.
Right.
History is the problem. You
Hmm.
know? And that's why I say, so if your child's going to school and they're learning history, somebody better be teaching that child outside of that book. And then, matter of fact, you got to look in the book, see what's all in there.
Hmm.
Some of them can be full of facts, but when you got so much stuff missing, then it might be painting a picture that's not an accurate picture. And
Right.
then you add these missing parts in there.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of what you have to. So in a Catholic school, you may be getting a great education, except for maybe history,
Right.
with history education, you know.
Hmm.
And so that's when you just got to always make sure you supplement. If you can give me a history book that's got all facts in it, I know there's some stuff missing in there that if I add some things in, it's going to give a different picture.
Yeah, no, it would definitely. And I mean, that's what that African American class in college definitely opened up my eyes to. And I
Right,
mean, I don't think I mentioned, but I did have two black teachers in pre-K and kindergarten. And I remember because of them, we did a Black History Month special. I remember being Rosa Parks one year and
yeah,
Madam C.J. Walker, but that really, the importance and the impact of having a black teacher to
right,
share. I don't think I would have learned about those people from that time being. So
right,
it's like even those little moments that I did learn, it did help put things into perspective from the little highlights that we did
yeah,
have of our Black history. Um, and even how it's relating back to now and what's going on in today's time. Because growing up, I will say I going to those private Catholic schools, I never really grew up with issues with white and black
right,
people. And if they were, I could see how it was like a micro aggressive
right, yeah.
statements or things,
Hmm.
but it was never the flat out
Blatant, yeah, it wasn't blatant.
blatant,
Right,
yeah. And I will say like now it is very different having like a friend, a white friend, so to speak, because we have to make sure we're on the same page and it's this awkward like
yeah.
I don't want to say anything too offensive or I don't even want to start a conversation that'll just,
But
blow over
I
or
just go ahead
even
and say it. I just go ahead and say it. The thing is, I try to be my authentic self all the time.
right.
So white people that are for my friends, they know
Hmm.
that's Wayne is going to be authentically Wayne all the time. I don't change up. Uh, well, this is what I found. See, I learned a lot of stuff very, very young that
Hmm.
carried through. As a matter of fact, you were fortunate because some of the stuff we didn't have Black History Month. Black History Month started by the time I was a teenager. So
Okay.
we didn't have it early on. That's why we had to get it even more outside. But with growing up in the 60s in Charleston, our block was integrated and segregated.
Mm-hmm.
So half of the block was all black. The other half was white.
Hmm.
And our house was the dividing place because we had a black neighbor on one side, a white neighbor on the other side. And then my grandparents' cross street was the dividing line. On the black side, we had some Muslim families. On the white side, we had some Jewish families. So in this one city block, we had multiple races and multiple religious ethnic groups, all that. In this one block, civil
Hmm.
rights movement's going on. The Confederacy, it was the centennial stuff for the Confederate, because that was the 1860s, then the 1960s.
Hmm.
And Charleston started the war and was the first state to secede from the Union, all that kind of thing. So they had all these 100th anniversary Confederate stuff going on, civil rights movement going on, a black and white folk on the same block, Muslims and Jews, all that stuff in one block. Now all the kids were friends. So we hanging out in white children's houses while this stuff going on, and they hanging out in our house. And
Hmm.
so we had a different kind of a perspective. Now, what we did find out, remember, our house was the dividing line. My last name is O'Brien.
Hmm.
O'Brien is an Irish name. During the 50s and 60s, they had those white groups. It wasn't the KKK, but it was like the White Citizens Council and stuff like that.
Hmm.
They were sending out mailings to all of the white families with their strategy on how to keep the N words out of everything.
Hmm.
They were accidentally sending the stuff to our house
Oh, wow.
because our name is O'Brien.
O'Brien.
And
So
we
they
was
were like,
right
oh,
next door to another white family, and they just assumed because they didn't have no social media, they didn't know what we look like.
right.
They're going through like a phone book or something like that,
Hmm.
see the O'Briens. So they were sending all their strategy to our house. Now this was doing two things. My mom would always call the NAACP and the SCLC, and they would come to our house because
Hmm.
she had all the inside information, from what the white people were planning. And so
Yeah.
they would come to our house, and she would share everything with them. She would always call all the black parents together to come over to show
Hmm.
them what's circulating.
Hmm.
Now, what we knew, even though the white families on there were friendly and the children played with each other, we knew they was getting those mailings.
Right.
But not if they were real friends, somebody would have snuck over there and said, "Hey, look, I just want y'all to know that they sending this stuff out. And I don't want nobody to know that I'm sharing it with you." But they would have
Mhm.
snuck over there and let us know.
A
The
real
fact that
ally.
the fact that they didn't do it,
Hmm.
the grown folk knew we can't trust them.
Right.
Now we all get out, walk out the house every day and speak. Matter
Mm.
of fact, the white family next to us was two cops, a man and his son, both were cops, white cops.
Wow.
But the fact that nobody said nothing, you knew because they had no idea we was getting it,
Right. Hmm.
and they would keep it. So that means they were allied with their group, even though every day we speaking, we cordial. So my granddaddy would always be checking on that. Hey, they ain't saying nothing to you, are they? The
Hmm.
parents. I said, nah, they ain't messing with me. He said, okay, let me know. Cause I'll go over there and slap somebody. And
Yeah.
but us and the kids, we were all tight.
Yeah. And that's really
Muslims and Jewish
interesting
kids and everything. Yeah.
that they allowed their kids, but I guess at
Well, I
that,
think
because
they almost had to. Because see,
yeah.
remember Charleston's that Gullah Geechee.
Hmm.
And at the time, see, when I was going, we first started going to elementary school, they had just integrated.
Mm.
And then we had this thing called white flight.
Oh, okay.
Once they
And they
integrated the
left.
schools, a lot of them went out into the suburbs
Hmm.
and built some new schools trying to get away. But they pretty much left most of that city to us. So
Hmm.
it was like 70% black when I
Hmm.
was growing up. When we were coming through our high school, I think it was five, it was four public schools, high schools downtown Charleston. When I got to probably 10th, 12th grade, 10th to 12th grade, there was only one white kid in
Hmm.
all four of those public schools, high schools. And then they
Hmm.
had a Catholic school that had, majority white, maybe 70 to 30% white in the Catholic school. I mean, white to black ratio. But all the public schools were black, you
Hmm.
know. And two of them used to be all white schools. So that's how the demographic had changed so quickly down there.
I
And in
kind of see it here
Charleston,
too.
yeah, and in Charleston, if you had now, they of course we going through that gentrification down there now in Charleston, but any little infraction would have been a riot.
Mm.
So they had to tread kind of very lightly. Charleston had a lot of slave insurrections
Yeah.
back, and so that energy was always there.
Hmm.
And so you had a fight on your hands. So the the fact that those kids we wanted to hang, if
Hmm.
you were saying that we off limits, then you would have had to answer for why. Because we were saying, hey, y'all, we have a party. The little white kids was invited. If y'all have one and we not invited, then grown folk would have been a whole lot now.
Yeah.
Why my kid not good enough to be over there, but yours good enough to be? So that was a very so everything was just open, but we got to know each other well
Hmm.
because we in the folks' house, and this is the
Yeah.
'60s. You
Yeah.
know, don't know what some of them folk was saying when we wasn't in there now, but those kids, man, we tight to this day. You know, so we know it can be done. Um, that's a microcosm. That
Hmm.
one block on what could be done.
Yeah. And it
And
also
so
shows the backfire in it because O'Brien, I'm sure, was a name given from like a
yeah,
slaveholder, and it ended up being used against that, you
yeah.
know.
Man, where's my people?
Oh wow. You
This
were
is Lawrence and Molly O'Brien. My great
Oh
great
my
grandparents.
gosh.
That's my great great grandparents. Born in slavery, 1850 and 1853.
Oh my gosh. That's where how did you get that photo?
Apparently, they took this photo back in the 1920s or something. Uh, they got married in the 70s, 1870s. But the interesting thing
Wow.
about them is the Motown had the Supremes and all that kind. Well,
Mhm.
the Motown sound, Motown was like the biggest, of the black record companies.
Mhm.
But their grandson, see, it's the grandson or great grandson, two of them were writers for Motown. They used to write for the Supreme. They wrote all the Supremes number ones and wrote,
Mhm.
for Marvin Gaye and all those guys, Four Tops, Temptations. Called Holland Dozier Holland. That was the songwriting team, and two of those Holland guys was their great grandchildren. But they had this picture. The Holland
Uh-huh.
Dozier Holland people, they're out in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame out in California. But
Oh wow.
yeah, and I get to go. The plantation is probably 20 miles from where I am now, so I get to go out there and go to the sites that they hung out at. Some of their fam, descendants still out there
Oh
on the
wow.
same land that was on the plantation.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's I think
I
that's
keep these
like
guys around.
yeah, I mean that I'm just amazed at the photo because it's just some people don't know how to track back to, their lineage, let alone have a photo. So I
Well, you
think
know
that's
why? Because
amazing.
you know something, you don't know what exists because you don't know. You think it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
I would have had no idea that existed when I went back to. I said the place where the plantation was.
Hmm.
It's about 20 something miles from where I am now. And, I just happened to move back into an area that my dad's side of the family's from up this way. But when I went out there, all these old people that still live in the general area
Hmm.
and start talking to them, because that one cousin just passed, she was like 101, and she knew them.
Oh. Oh wow.
Yeah, her
Oh.
grandmother, yeah, her grandmother and my great great grands were like first cousins. And so they were always spending time together. But since she was born in 1923, and
Hmm.
he didn't die till 1935 or something like that, and I think she died around 1928. But she knew them. She was a teenager when he died. And so she could
Wow.
tell me all kinds of things that he would say and his mannerisms and all that kind of stuff. But see, you don't know once you get into an area that people still live in, that your folks used to live in 3, 4, 5 generations down the line,
Hmm.
you'd be surprised what they got in their house.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, my
Yeah, 'cause I was
grandparents are
talking to
from.
her. Yeah, I was talking to the cousin, the 101-year-old cousin, and it showed her that picture. And she was, oh yeah, there goes Uncle Lawrence. Yeah, I remember he did it. And then she showed me a picture of her grandmother, who was on the mantle, who was his first cousin. She was born like 1860. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I went back by her house and I said, hey, I found the records to your grandmother's mother, who was born in the 1830s. And she said, oh, there goes a picture of her right there.
Oh
Oh, I
wow.
said, why you didn't tell me that the first time I came? But see, she didn't think to tell. She don't think nothing of it. They've
Hmm.
been there all her life on that mantle, and that's
Yeah.
just grandma.
Hmm.
But that means something to us. We're looking at records from the
Hmm.
18th. I mean, I got the records with the price tags on them, and
Wow.
I'm saying, hey, look at these things I found for you, and she just pointing out pictures.
Yeah.
And so she was sending me to other family members' houses, and they got the pictures of their folks up on the wall, and I got the records, they got the pictures.
Mm.
So
Okay.
like I say, you don't know the things exist because you don't know to ask.
Right. Yo, you're right. Because
Yeah,
I've been on my trying to get my family history tree down, and my grandmother did pass away. So it's so many things I won't be able to get from her because she ended up having dementia too. So it was
yeah.
like trying
But
to
you can
go
find
back.
some things now.
Yeah. It's just small town. So I definitely think I can definitely, like how
In
you said, just
small town is
ask
easier.
them.
Yeah, small
Yeah.
town is actually easier.
Yeah, but I mean that picture, because I've always wondered like what did she look like as a little girl? Like they don't have any pictures of her as a little girl, so I'm like, how can I? That's like my biggest mystery right now. Like I want to
Uh,
go as far back as I can,
yeah,
but
because see, you go to neighbors and things like that. Because see,
hmm.
people will take pictures at church.
Hmm.
When they have like church anniversary and stuff like that, taking group pictures and stuff. And then see the old people from the community,
Hmm.
they can point out to you who's who in a picture.
Right.
Because you might just be looking at you might say, okay, does anybody have any old church photos, anniversary, choir, stuff like that? And then all of a sudden, somebody will say, oh, that's your grandmama right there.
Yeah.
A picture you've never seen. I just got
Hmm.
one probably about a year ago. Somebody sent a choir picture from our church down in Charleston. And my great grandmama, my granddaddy was in that picture. but I
Mm.
had never seen the picture before. So these pictures that people are in, and people in that know them, the
They
point
would
of view,
have.
oh yeah, that's yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I never thought about doing it that way, but that would be a probably crack all the questions I've had if
yeah,
I
because it's
just,
not gonna necessarily be a formal picture, just family pictures.
yeah.
Some
Mhm.
neighbor had a birthday party that your grandmama was at,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
somebody else say, "Oh yeah, child, that's your grandmama right there." You know,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm definitely gonna start with the church because my grandfather was the one that helped build the church in our community. So I'm
yeah,
sure they definitely have
yeah,
more pictures than I'm thinking. So I'm gonna definitely try from there. And even speaking of the church, I did want to talk about how the church played a part in teaching Black history
right.
as well.
And they don't do that as much anymore. What the church had to. Churches started a lot of the early schools,
Hmm.
for black folks. Um, and since they know we wasn't getting anything to church, but I know the AME church was bigger than that.
Hmm.
Um, what happened recently? Well, after I guess integration, and I think a lot of this happened around that George Bush administration when they started with the Christian initiatives.
Which Bush? I like to clarify.
W. It was W.
Uh-huh.
Because they were acting like, remember they started pushing all this, we're Christian this and we're Christian that, when they really, that's their behavior. But
Hmm.
they started this faith-based initiative
Hmm.
where they were getting these churches to, apply for government money in the faith-based initiative. And so you can start a 501(c)(3), all this kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
people were trying to warn that if you start taking money from the government, that there's going to be all these regulations that go along with it. And some of those regulations could be what you can't teach.
Hmm.
So we're going to get money to maybe start this daycare center, but y'all can't teach some stuff that you may have wanted to teach before. You got all these guidelines, or you lose the money.
Hmm.
So when they started taking government money, that keeping church and state separate, had its benefits. You start mixing the two, then you're going to run into some things where
Hmm.
they're now telling you how you can, operate, the things that you can say. So I always told my pastor, they give me, I can call him on a Saturday night and say, just block off some time for me. I'll come and teach some Black history.
Hmm.
And they're working into the program.
Mm.
And because they know, if you don't let me do it, I'm going to go somewhere else and do it.
Yeah.
But I was always saying, well, our folk, and I would talk to other churches. I'd be all over the place, churches, mosque, anywhere. And
Hmm.
but I would always tell them, I'm not going to teach anything anywhere and not give y'all opportunity to hear it.
Right.
So, if it's just something that I learned and I put it together, I can call him anytime and say, hey, I'm doing a Black History moment tomorrow. And he'll say, okay, I'll call the secretary and have her put a slot in there for it. You know.
Okay. Oh, so we're still like, it's just the ones that have taken that government check that
Yeah,
probably
and see,
wouldn't
well, what it
allow.
is, I don't consider myself necessarily representing the church. I'm representing me.
Hmm.
And I stay kind of, like, for instance, right now I'm with the Center for African American History, Art, and Culture, but I
Hmm.
don't work for them. Yeah, I can't have y'all telling me, because they're connected with the city. I
Right.
can't have y'all telling me what I can and can't teach.
Right.
I'm independent.
Hmm.
And they need me around, though. You know, yeah,
Yeah.
they need me around, but I'm just saying that
But that's
I can't
smart.
have y'all telling me what I can and can't teach. We can remember now, I was taught by the ancestors,
Hmm.
and they taught me outside of the system. They were teaching me stuff that they couldn't teach me if I was in the system. If I was in their classroom, they
Hmm.
couldn't have taught me that.
Right.
So they gave me some stuff that I'm supposed to be sharing, and I can't go someplace where they're telling me I can't share it.
Yeah.
And work for somebody who's telling me I can't do this. So that's I always tell people, what are you gonna do? Kill me?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, first of all, that's all you could do to shut me up. And then you really can't kill me until it's my time to go.
Hmm.
When it's my time to go, I ain't nothing I can do to stay. And when it ain't my time to go, ain't nothing y'all can do to get me up out of here.
Yeah, but working
Yeah,
independently, no, but that's from you knowing your history to
yes,
know I have to work independently because these are what
yeah, because
they're trying to put up
they try to
against
stop me
me.
from doing it. Yeah,
Right. So I mean, I definitely look at that because I mean, there's a lot like even working under a university, we still have to do what the
right.
university
Yeah,
is approving of. So I
because you're
do
representing
understand
them.
that.
Yeah,
Right. We still have the name
and
attached. So
they'll get a backlash
right.
from you doing something that wasn't supposed to line up with what. So I mean,
Hmm.
and until you can do some stuff on, even if you were doing it on your own, but you're still with the university, if they
Yeah.
say it reflects on them, and the way Trump is petty, he's going after he'll go after the university over
Yeah.
something you said,
Yeah. No, that is true. That
But
is
see, this is my mission now. This ain't your mission.
right. No, no, I understand.
my, my
I
mission.
understand what you
Yeah,
mean by it being restricted in a
right.
certain sense. I mean, working under an HBCU, I will say, because I didn't graduate from Dillard, I went to University of Lafayette, which was a
Yeah,
PWI.
yeah,
So being in those two different worlds, I do
right.
feel a lot like, for instance, election day, we all felt the same
Yeah,
sorrow and sadness that day. And it was refreshing to come in an environment where I can express that I'm frustrated about this
right.
election versus my friends who are working in a more diverse or majority white environment
Yeah,
where they were teasing that
yeah,
them
right.
and coming at them like, oh, your president Kamala didn't win, or
Yeah,
and it's like here we had a whole, so it's like it is different even then, being under this umbrella and the things that Trump are trying to put against us because we are the Center for Racial Justice. So it's like, we
yeah,
are DEI. We're
right.
DEI under an HBCU. So it's like
Yeah,
we're very much in a very sticky situation under
yeah.
this president.
But let me tell you, individually, what we have to do. Remember, I was telling you about these mindsets we have. When people
Hmm.
try to put on you that you're bad and all that kind of thing, but it's projection. Uh, when the election went the way it went, because there's
Hmm.
ways to answer these things. I remember I went by the Democratic office, um, and there were all these white ladies on the floor crying. My wife had these T-shirts that she gave them as a fundraiser,
Hmm.
and so I was going by to pick up the ones that didn't sell, and they were on the ground crying in the office. And I said, "What's wrong with y'all?" And they were saying, we think we failed because we were going into all these communities and telling them, hey, you got to get out and vote. And then, we got them registered and everything. And then we didn't come through. I said, well, y'all was out there working. Y'all was trying to make a difference, so but I was like, look, the minute the election wasn't going the right way, my mind switched to what the resistance is going to look like.
Hmm.
Yeah, because this learning from the civil rights guys,
Yeah.
you don't have time for the pity stuff.
Yeah.
This is the reality. And see, my thing is, if the candidate I was wanting to vote for won, it just makes some of the things we want to do easier.
Hmm.
If the candidate I wanted to win loses, I'm still looking at, okay, we still got to do these things, but it's just going to be harder.
Right.
So now we got to try to mitigate the law. How much are we going to lose?
Hmm.
Trying because we can lose a lot more if we're
Right.
not. And
Right.
then that's just that bigger hole we got to dig out of. So if
Hmm.
we can mitigate it to where the hole is shallow, we can come out of it quicker and start
Hmm.
back on a positive run. If
Yeah.
the hole is deep, it's going to take us that much longer, but we still plan on digging out of it.
Hmm.
It's just going to take it that much longer. So everything was like, okay, how are we going to resist enough to keep this hole shallow that
Hmm.
we're going to get in this thing here? Because we got to be ready as soon as the things change, political climate changes, to
Hmm.
move again.
Yeah.
So that's what the mind's supposed to shift. And if somebody's
Mhm.
supposed to tease me about your candidate didn't win, the way I usually handle that is I say, I voted for the right person though.
Right. We did our
So
part.
yeah, I've never regretted a vote.
Right.
Whether they won or lost, I never regretted a vote. I remember first time I voted was when Carter was running against Reagan,
Mm.
and Carter lost. But I said, but I voted for the right person. I voted for the best person. You see,
Yeah.
so I don't have a problem with the fact that y'all made a bad vote. And y'all get, I mean, you're not making me feel bad because he lost, because I voted for the right guy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter proved the type of person he was over all
Hmm.
those years. So I voted for the right person.
Yeah.
See,
And that's
that's the
all we
way.
can.
That's the way you combat stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's not. Why should I feel bad because you voted for the wrong person and
Right.
that person won? You
Right.
know.
Because they're not singing that same song right
Yeah,
now
that's what I'm
about the
saying.
person they voted for.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let nobody make me feel bad about nothing. You know, because that's
Exactly.
but that was part of the great grandmother's training. You
Hmm.
know, that self esteem. You know, she was saying if I teach you that stuff, then you have a bulletproof vest on for because I was going to the school, the elementary school that had just integrated.
Hmm.
So she knew I was gonna go in there with these white kids, and they didn't have to do that back in their time. So she was making sure that she built my self-esteem up to a place where don't let anybody make you feel like you're less than anything. Because
Right.
you're not. You're not letting say you're the greatest thing God created on this
Hmm.
planet. Nothing can be better than you. If they understand who they are, they can be equal to you.
Right.
And all those children that's coming off of the projects for the first time going to that school, if they understand who they are, they can be equal to you.
Hmm.
But nobody can be better than you and as a human being.
Hmm.
And then my mom was saying, now I want you to understand that you're no better than anybody else either. Because she had to give me the humility part.
Hmm.
So you're gonna run into people that's got less than you, but you try to use what you know to elevate them.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
everybody just born. I tell people all the time, they tell me to give myself more credit, but I always tell people I was just born.
Hmm.
Say I was born, I just landed in this particular city at this time frame. I landed during the civil rights movement in
Hmm.
Charleston, which was a very active and historic place. I happened to land in a family that was teaching this kind of stuff. I wasn't doing nothing. I happened to have the last name O'Bryant when the white folks was accidentally saying they stuff to our house.
Hmm.
So I said I was just born and all this stuff was, going. But
Hmm.
what I did do is I listened
Hmm.
when they were teaching. And then after I grew up, I researched so that I could prove the stuff that they were teaching me so that it makes the argument stronger.
Hmm.
So I landed in the one thing, but then I did something with it once I landed into it. And
Right.
what happens when you grew up, you're in the hood, you didn't do nothing to get there.
Right.
That's just where you landed when you were born.
Hmm.
Now what you're gonna do with where you are.
Right. Picking
You know.
yourself up from
Yeah,
there.
and you can be born into wealth, but you can do some positive stuff with this money.
Right. Yeah.
So what you gonna do with it? Are you just gonna say, "Hey, I got a comfortable life, so forget the rest of y'all," or am I gonna
Hmm.
say, "Let me see what I can do to help alleviate suffering for some other people"? You
Right.
know.
Yeah. And
So yeah,
that's how we should be thinking to keep
yeah,
ourselves going. Because we've seen how it is to hoard and
right,
gatekeep things, and it's just hurting all
yeah,
of us, really.
yeah. So like I say, you land somewhere. What can I do? I'm here now. Let me see
Hmm.
what I got and what I don't have, but I'm gonna do some positive things. To try to make the whole world situation better. If
Better.
everybody's thinking like that, we would have this stuff solved.
We would like united. If we were more
Yeah,
united and the truth was told the right way, I
yeah.
definitely could see a
Now we
huge.
can get it back and take the pain and all this hurt to make people start saying, I think we might need to get united because, not being united, we can see what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so,
history repeating itself. Because right now, here in New Orleans, many people are watching what's happening politically surrounding Mr. Calvin Duncan. I think I told you a
yeah.
little bit about him. He's an attorney, a man who was formerly wrongfully incarcerated for a crime he was exonerated for.
Mhm.
And he also fairly won the
Yeah,
election
right.
as our criminal clerk office. And as a historian who studied Reconstruction, voter suppression, and political backlash, do you see the historical parallels
Yeah. But
in the
because,
warring
but see,
signs?
he's fault. No, what's happened is he just happened to have fallen into where he got elected in a time when we're doing this history repeating itself.
Hmm.
See, because I remember after Reconstruction and the direction the country was going in, they took the votes away and
Yes.
then created this system. Well, right now, we just struck down a major part of the Voting Rights Act.
Hmm.
And we're at a place where black votes are coming under attack. So
Right.
he just had, now, if he had been elected 10 years ago, he would have went right into that seat
Hmm.
because we were in a political situation when they were doing stuff like this.
Right.
Now, this is you got to be a person of your time. He's a
Hmm.
person of his time now. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You see, that's how a lot of this stuff is. Sometimes you can't help what happened to you by other people. It's what are you going to do?
Hmm.
And as long as he get out there and he fights, you know what happened with was Stacey Abrams in
Hmm.
Georgia? Well, she lost the election, probably was cheated, but what are you going to do? She started activating things and trying to get other people elected and staying out there on the nationals. So it wasn't I just lost and
Hmm.
I'm just going to go home and not be involved anymore. She can go back to some private things.
Right.
And no, I'm going to take this. I'm going to do some other things. I'm going to build some things. A lot of people got in office because of her, even though she didn't get in.
Right.
So that's what all this stuff, anything that happens, what am I going to do to try to move the ball
Next.
forward? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very true. And I know for sure he's planning on suing the Louisiana Senate, and we're still fighting, like, because he still went into office, and it's like they're messing with the times. Like, he was able to go in and start the first day, and then they sent the troops and everything, and it's just been a very unreal idea of, like, they're showing you they don't want
Yeah.
this black man, and it's just been they've been kicking out our black politicians that's been speaking
Yeah.
on his behalf. They kicked them out the chambers. They're changing the times of when we can hear the
We
the
are we
statements.
are in Reconstruction, the end of Reconstruction 2.0.
Hmm.
You see what's going on in Tennessee with the Justins,
Yes.
and they took all those Democratic people's committee assignments and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, but the tides are going to change. The tides going to change.
Hmm.
Now we don't do what they do, but what we're going to do is we're going to move that ball forward.
Right.
And
That's.
and then you're going to have to put some laws in place that will protect, like for instance, the Civil Rights Act should have been made a law by Congress years ago because it kept coming up for, over and over to be reinstated. Um, you get these Democrats in there next time, say, okay, we're going to enshrine this in law.
Hmm.
You know, um, there's things they can do to get around the Supreme Court decision too. But they got to get back. We got to get out and vote and get a majority in there and
Hmm.
start rolling this stuff back. Whether we ever gonna see this guy held accountable, we he's gonna be held accountable shortly anyway because he's 80 something years old and falling apart. But but so if he gets held accountable here or somewhere else, that's one thing. But we gotta get this systemic situation back on track.
Hmm.
Because they roll it back. It's the craziest thing in the world to tell Black History museums you can't put Black history in them.
Right. And I went to Philly actually when we went to the African American Museum there, and they had a timeline
Yeah.
wall, and everything else was black costumes, which,
Well, if it's
shout
under,
out to.
as I say, if it's federal funding,
Mhm.
then that's when they can affect it.
Yeah,
Because
it was
otherwise
a
it would have to
museum
be.
of costumes from black movies and shows.
Yeah.
Like, that was the whole museum, and I'm like,
Yeah, 'cause
I
they're
didn't
pulling things out of there.
Yeah, we got to see the where they were talking about the abolitionists. Like, they removed all of those from that
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
outdoor area, and they didn't even like replace it. It's
Yeah.
literally like you see wires hanging.
Right. Yeah.
It was just like,
It's
and then
great.
that was in Philadelphia that has so much history. There
Yeah.
was like at least 6 or 7 places to visit, but that was probably the most disheartening experience ever.
See, I remember I'm telling you how to accept these things.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have been this hard. I would have been empowered.
Hmm.
I would have taken pictures of all the stuff gone because see, now we're gonna get them back, but that's a snapshot in time
Hmm.
to where things are so crazy that you got an African American museum that they tell them can't put up African American history.
Yeah.
And so, as I say, this is how far he's
That they.
going to go. Now, and
Mhm.
see, I'm a visionary. I'm always looking forward.
Mhm.
They know we're going to put the stuff back, you know.
Yeah.
But I want to mark this time, this period in time, because what happens a lot of times with these crazy things in history is you get a down the line a little bit, and people want to lie and say this never happened.
Hmm.
Oh, we would have never done that. So you document it. Yes, you did.
Oh yeah, I have it documented for
Yeah, so,
sure.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to hear that of, oh, we would never.
Yeah,
Well, you
but you
did
did.
before.
Right.
See, there's a lot of things that they accuse black folk of that we say we would never do, but there's no history that we ever did it.
Right.
There's a lot of history that y'all have done this before, so why would y'all not do this again?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it shows that it's definitely happened before. He didn't get
yeah,
it from nowhere. That's how I
yeah.
look at it. Like Trump is using, because we what we have to understand is we had other presidents like Trump at a different
We
time.
had, well, you know what we didn't have? See, Trump is a unique guy,
Hmm.
mainly because of his ability to not feel anything about lying the way he lied.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that you don't generally see. With Paul, you had politicians that lied.
Hmm.
They got caught in affairs, all that kind of stuff. And but when they lied and got caught, most of the time, 90 something percent of the time, they came clean and asked for some forgiveness because they're trying to save their political career.
Yeah.
Trump doubles down because he was taught by the guy named Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn said, never admit to anything,
Hmm.
and never say you're sorry. That's
Yeah.
how he's trained.
Hmm.
So he'll blatantly lie, get caught in the lie. You play the tape back of him saying it, and he still will never apologize for anything, and he'll never say he actually did it. He
Hmm.
just doubled down. We haven't had that. You know what I'm saying?
He
Now we
said,
had
yeah.
some liars, and we had some people with races, all that kind of stuff, but we never had that.
Hmm. Where it's
Not that
just
I've ever seen.
okay. Hmm.
I've seen people that would just stand on the fact that they did it.
Hmm.
You say, well, you did this. Yeah, I did. I'm talking about this guy is double down, lie, 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 lie. And never remember they asked him, he used to claim he was a Christian. They said, have you ever asked God's forgiveness on anything? And he said, I don't see no reason why I had to. I never did anything wrong, I mean
Yeah.
that's crazy. So I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah,
we
no,
haven't
we
had that.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
different. That is different. That is
Yeah.
his mental and the things he views as even that picture of him as Jesus. And he's like, oh no, that's not me,
That's
it's
what I'm
Jesus.
saying.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like,
Well, these recent things, he just off his rocker right now.
mm-hmm.
I mean, he's way out there because he get up in the middle of the night and just tweet
Oh.
and all crazy stuff. Then all day long, he's sleeping in the doggone meetings
Yeah.
because he's up all night.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he just
Fighting
got.
demons.
I think all of his henchmen, they're doing all the work. Because they had actually written all the stuff that they gave to him to get implemented. But so they're still working. He's just the figurehead.
He's just the figurehead.
Yeah, and then hey, if you need to go out there and just rant and say a bunch of crazy stuff, just have at it while we over here implementing all this evil stuff.
Right.
That's
He's
that's
just the
kind of what's going
mascot.
on now. Yeah, they don't care if he's sleeping over there. Look, we got it. Stephen Miller's and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Project 2025
right.
was
Yeah,
already, well, he
yeah.
was
They had
not
that. Yeah,
even involved. He was really
yeah.
just putting it together.
Now
He's
we
the,
got you to get it implemented because
mhm.
all these cow. You know something? Remember I take these two bookend quotes that I always use. The first one is those who don't know history destined to repeat it. That was
Mhm.
George Santana. Uh,
Mhm.
the other one is Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou said, "History, despite its retching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again."
Mhm.
Maya Angelou always said that she thought that the most important virtue was courage.
Mhm.
She was a very good friend of Malcolm X's, and that's what she admired most about him was his courage. But she said, because without courage, you can't faithfully practice any of the other virtues.
Mhm.
Because somebody always be trying to threaten you off of it. Like, for
Right.
instance, you say, I'm a Christian, I love Christ, but somebody say, yeah, was supposed to like, kill you for that. Will you
Mhm.
still say it then? Or would you beg for your life and deny Christ to save your life? Somebody's always trying to push you. So the courage to be able to do certain things, I can practice my faith, I can practice my virtues, but I got to have the courage to do it.
Right.
And he's saying, despite how wretched the pain is of history, we can't unlive this stuff. It doesn't happen.
Hmm.
But with courage, facing this stuff with courage, you don't have to live it again. Right now, we are in a period where this stuff was coming back and a bunch of folks spineless.
Mm.
Because the people that had the power to stop this all the time sitting in Congress are too cowardly to do it.
Right.
And you've been elected to be an independent voice for the people you represent,
Hmm.
not the coward to Donald Trump.
Right.
And so their checks and balances, they've abdicated that.
Hmm.
This guy, the emoluments clause, you're supposed to be accepting gifts. They talk about, hey, they want to give me a plane.
Right. Just
And I'm
changing up
taking it.
everything. Yeah.
And they're supposed to shut that down. No, you can't. These guys don't supposed to take a watch or uh,
His wealth has actually increased since being
that's what I'm
president.
saying.
Like
Billions.
him and his families, and
Yeah.
they're not supposed to do any of that.
Yeah. So the fact that Congress is not doing their job. Now it's not the Democratic minority is not doing their job. They're trying to do it. It's
Hmm.
that they don't even in some of the things they're supposed to have two-thirds vote for that they don't have, they're pushing it through. The guy at war right now in Congress is supposed to be the only people that can declare war.
Hmm.
He didn't. He said I didn't go and ask them because they would have probably said no.
Right. And he's just
But
doing what
but
he
people
wants.
died. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
So
it's,
and it's the cowardice.
yeah.
Like I said, that simple without courage, you can't
Hmm.
practice anything. And we're seeing John Kennedy wrote a little book, Profiles in Courage,
Hmm.
because it takes these individuals, Martin Luther King, um, a Medgar Evers.
Right.
I don't know if you remember Shuttlesworth, but he was something else. But Fred Shuttlesworth,
I
uh,
actually just heard of Medgar Evers in the past 2 years. I've never
yeah,
heard of him before. 2 years ago, with Joy Ann Reid wrote the
yeah.
book,
But I'll tell you, look up Fred Shuttlesworth.
Fred Shuttlesworth.
That guy in that civil rights movement, they bombed his house. They couldn't do nothing to that dude. They put a bomb under his bedroom, so when it blew up, bed and everything shredded. He
Oh.
come walking out the house, and he said, "Look, if y'all trying to stop me, you got to do a lot more than that." And
Hmm.
he actually just passed
Wow.
a few years ago. I mean, he probably, in terms of getting beaten, more than anybody. And
Hmm.
Fred Shuttleworth didn't back up one step, you know. Matter of
Hmm.
fact, what was that, Fannie Lou Hamer?
Hmm.
He said, look, doing this kind of work can get you killed, but if I fall, I'm gonna fall 5 foot 4 inches forward in the fight for justice.
Yeah.
I'll get my die, but I ain't falling backwards. I'm falling forward. If y'all
Forward.
kill me, yeah.
And that's
Like,
what that's what it takes, because
yeah,
that's what they're not prepared for. They want us to back down,
yeah,
cower down. That's why all the black men are in prison, because they know they would be the main ones trying to
yeah,
fight for us. So it's easier to keep them in prison. It's easier to keep them mentally or educationally behind, or making them feel like it's
yeah.
just really
And you
interesting
know
how it's
something?
all.
I'm glad you mentioned the educationally behind because see, the black women have always been a power and a strength
Hmm.
behind these movements.
Right.
Black women at the same time are the most educated um, portion of the American population.
Hmm.
A lot of things was trying to separate us because see, when you get 4 or 5 degrees, stuff like that, and then you get a certain position,
Hmm.
you may not want to step out there to do some things that you would have ordinarily done because it might threaten that position.
Right.
Um, it's trying to decapitate to see what you need in order for us to do this. And I don't care about how much education people get. You just have to stay engaged in the fight for doing the
Hmm.
right thing. Uh, but the unity that we have to have to be able to be successful, if you try to split African American men and African American women away from each other, then we're going to have a hard time doing this. We got to have each other because see, one thing about the black skin, see if they separate us, they may try to take the black man down,
Hmm.
and then the black women they're gonna say, okay, now y'all here by yourself, and it's
Hmm.
gonna be easier for us to take y'all down. So we don't care what y'all getting right now
Hmm.
because when we've been watching this stuff happen with Cosby and Michael Jackson, you get to a certain place and that all that wealth, and they always show, hey, we can come get that.
Hmm.
So when people get all comfortable, if we don't get this thing level for everybody, then we're going to have a situation where picking off people piece by piece.
Mm.
And then when you're out there by yourself, you don't have the strength to really keep them from taking you down next. So if everybody unify,
Hmm.
then everybody should have a level playing field where everybody can do well,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
No, I definitely I think that is our biggest problem, and the thing that once we get over that problem of being unified, coming together for the common purpose of we want our rights that is owed to us, as you said, like from that piece of paper that they wrote out for all American citizens. And I definitely wanted to end because we've been talking past
Yeah,
the
because I got
time.
a news crew about that's texting me.
Okay,
They
yeah.
happen to find
I
find the
wanted
building.
to I wanted to end with, what is your message to the American people who are tired and who are ready for real change?
Keep your head up. Always think positive. Stay engaged. Find allies to unify with. We know the ideal that we want. A free and fair society for everybody.
Hmm.
And if we work together, we can get there. But you have to make sure you keep the faith and keep positive. Never get discouraged because it's a fight we got to win.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing information and the research and knowledge that your grandmother, great grandmother, and mother were able to give to you, because we have to keep the stories alive. So I really appreciate you. I know we went past the time, but it
That,
was getting
that's
really
okay.
good.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, I really did. I really appreciate you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, you
And
too.
hopefully we can have another podcast maybe and kind of dig more into this.
Yeah, do that. Let me know
Okay.
about some of the reaction to it.
Okay, I will. I
Okay.
will.
Yeah, then stay in touch.
All righty. Thank you. And this has been
Okay.
live from the CRJ. Bye.
All right. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye bye.